Hello everybody, my name is Alex, I'm 22 years old and I am an Orthodox catechumen. That means I want to become Orthodox, but I'm not yet. A friend of mine who is a Protestant, non-denominational, he recommended I do a book review about a certain book that I was speaking very enthusiastically about, because I do that quite often when I have finished a book that really touched me. Since I'm an Orthodox catechumen, I do not have to, but I do read a lot of books regarding saints, church history, and sometimes a particular book really stands out for me. And in this case, it was The Gurus, the Young Man, and Elder Paisios. Elder Paisios, he was a monk from Mount Athos in Greece. Mount Athos is a peninsula in Greece where about 1500 to 2000 monks live. It is also referred to as the Holy Mountain because it is a destination of pilgrimage for a lot of people in the Orthodox world. This book touches upon a young man who is discerning between Hinduism and Orthodox Christianity. Because in the 80s, this book is taking place in the 80s, the wind from America came to Europe where a lot of New Age practices were being practiced, like yoga, hypnotism, witchcraft, Wicca, all that kind of stuff. And also Greece was affected by it. And in those periods you had a lot of people practicing yoga because they were searching for a deeper spiritual meaning and they were not content with the Western philosophies and the Western way of practicing their religion. For example, Protestantism and Roman Catholicism. Although about those two I can say a lot of things, but that's not right for this video. What touched me especially in this book is the eagerness of the author to learn, because he was not content with finding a superficial truth. He was constantly digging deeper. On the one hand, he would have spiritual encounters with people from Hinduism and from yoga and hypnotism, but he wanted to delve deeper into it and also give the other side a chance. So he went to the Holy Mountain, first just to visit it, but then he met Elder Paisios. And Elder Paisios is a saint. He's canonized as a saint in 2014. And maybe if you are not very well acquainted with what an Orthodox saint is, I really recommend you read into it, but I cannot cover that in a small book review. But his eagerness to learn through comparing the two sides, it is really inspiring to read, not just for Orthodox, but I think also Protestants, Catholics and Hindus can learn from it, because he has tasted of both worlds. And in this book, after he pays Elder Paisios a visit, he becomes a spiritual disciple, and afterwards he goes to India for 6 months to also taste of the other side again. And in there, a bit of a spooky thing happens, because I was really spooked by it. I did not even dare to go to sleep while I was praying. I hear the sound and immediately got shook up. But a lot of demonic experiences are carefully written down in this book. They are written down in very much detail, and sometimes it might be a little bit extreme to read about them, so I do give a little bit of a warning. It can be a bit of a scary book at times. But on the other hand, after the scary things in the book, you encounter the goodness and the love of Christ, which even in the depths and of the spiritual darkness that lingers over there, and in your own heart, he enlightens it and he brings comfort there. So that is really nice to read. This book, it took me about 4 days to read through it. It's 300 pages long, but I promise you, once you start, you cannot stop reading. I'm not really an avid reader, but this book, it really brought me back into reading again, and I can really recommend it to everybody who is interested in finding out about what Orthodoxy thinks about Hinduism and how we deal with it. And this is just the story of a young man discerning between Eastern practices and Orthodox Christianity. I think this is a very good book to read if you are curious about the Orthodox faith, because in here you read how an outsider interacts with an Orthodox saint. And interacting with an Orthodox saint, from our view, it is maybe a very boring thing, but if you read this, it really shows the in-depth about the faith, about Orthodox Christianity. And it just shows that it is so different than what we thought. The way they deal with situations as Hinduism or New Age type of practices, and the things they say, the experiences they have, the supernatural experiences, it blows my mind. It's really good to read, and I can recommend reading a lot of other saints, but this is maybe a good place to begin, because here an outsider's view is given of Orthodox Christianity, and of course later he converted, but here he recalls how he was feeling at those times.